In the National Football League, everything, and I mean literally everything, can change in a matter of seconds. A single play, a single draft pick, a single offseason decision can completely forge a legacy or can shatter a dynasty before it even truly begins. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are looking at a franchise standing on the absolute razor's edge of greatness, the 2026 Chicago Bears. This is a complete explainer of the immense pressure, the hidden flaws, and the ticking clock facing one of the most storied organizations in all of sports. But before we unravel this mystery, make sure to subscribe to the NFL Nexus channel, like this explainer, and comment down below on what you thought. And hey, if you truly want to support the deep dive analysis we do here, consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. We'd absolutely love to have you. All right, the stage is set. The lights are blinding. Let's uncover the dramatic truth behind the 2026 Chicago Bears.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 4 key areas. Number 1, the 2026 Bears hype. Number 2, the defensive line dilemma. Number 3, the veteran ed solution. And finally, number 4, Caleb's next big step. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the 2026 Bears hype.
To really understand the immense, crushing pressure cooking in the Windy City right now, we first have to fully understand the expectations. Because in the NFL, success, it's a double-edged sword. When you win, you aren't just celebrated, you become the hunted. And man, the Bears are walking into the 2026 season with a massive neon target painted squarely on their backs. Let's look back at last year. The 2025 campaign was nothing short of spectacular, right? Under head coach Ben Johnson, they achieved incredible success. 11 wins, 6 losses. They didn't just compete with the rest of the league, they conquered. They claimed the coveted NFC North title, splitting the regular season series with their bitter rivals, the Green Bay Packers. But it was in the playoffs where the story truly became cinematic. Picture this, the wild card round. The Bears travel up to Lambeau Field. It is freezing, sideways rain, the kind that just cuts right through you. And they didn't just beat the Packers in that weather, they locked them out of the postseason entirely. It all came down to a decisive late fourth quarter interception that sealed a 24-17 victory. It was a massive statement. It told the entire football world that the monsters of the Midway had officially returned and completely silenced the frozen tundra. But that was last year. And in this league, let's be real, yesterday's trophies absolutely do not win tomorrow's games. They have to prove themselves all over again.
Now this single number, 90, this completely encapsulates the crushing weight of expectation placed squarely on the shoulders of one man, Caleb Williams. The national spotlight is just searing right now. I mean, he is the face of the next Madden video game cover. And that 90 overall rating entering this season, that is literally the highest rating ever given to a Chicago Bears quarterback in the entire history of the franchise. It's historic. And it's not just the video games. According to a recent exhaustive ESPN poll of NFL coaches, executives, and scouts, Williams is now ranked as the 10th best quarterback in the entire league. When you look at the microscopic details of those scouting reports, they are staggering. One anonymous AFC executive specifically cited Williams' off-platform wizardry and his unmatched arm torque as the exact reasons defensive coordinators are tossing and turning at night. The hype is no longer just a local Chicago thing. It has become a full-blown national phenomenon. But, and this is a massive but, beneath all this glitz, beneath the magazine covers and that warm 11-win glow, a fatal flaw is hiding in plain sight.
Section 2, the defensive line dilemma. We need to shift our focus to the trenches for a second, because hiding right behind that flashy offense and that unforgettable playoff victory lies a really dark reality. Look, the Bears possess one of the most well-rounded rosters in the league, but their defensive line is a ticking time bomb. Just look closely at this chart. This is the terrifying contrast between a playoff-caliber team and a bottom-tier defensive front. The Bears finished the 2025 regular season ranked 31st in the NFL in pass rush win rate at a pitiful 29%. 31st, and they were 29th in pressure percentage at just 28%. Keep in mind, this is the 5th most expensive defensive line in the entire league, and yet for all that money, they are operating at the absolute bottom of the barrel. Last season, sure, the defense looked solid on paper, but they were swimming in incredibly dangerous waters. They relied entirely too much on forced turnovers to stay afloat, and film doesn't lie. Eventually, opposing offensive coordinators adapted. They figured out Chicago's cover 2 shell. They started dialing up quick-release passing concepts, and guess what? They stopped turning the ball over. When those turnovers dried up, it brutally exposed the front four's absolute inability to win their one-on-one matchups. Opponents just marched up and down the field at will. This is a glaring, blinking red vulnerability that championship-caliber teams will exploit without an ounce of mercy.
Let's actually examine the agonizing piece-by-piece collapse of this unit because it's rough. First, they brought in Deo Odehangbo. The hope was that he'd be this Dennis Allen-type edge rusher. The actual result? Exactly 1 sack in 8 games. And get this, that lone sack came on the second drive of the entire season before a lingering high ankle sprain basically robbed him of all his explosion. Then you have Shamar Turner, an uber-athletic second-round defensive tackle. But a myriad of injuries made him late to the party and forced him to leave early. He played in only 5 games, and when he did play, he displayed a really concerning lack of bend on the edge. What about the wily veteran Grady Jarrett? Well, at 33 years old, he suffered a heavily injury-riddled season, looking like a mere shell of his former dominant self. Javon Dexter Sr. continues to show frustrating inconsistencies, specifically struggling to defend against the run and frequently losing his gap leverage. And the new addition, Jordan Vandenberg? Yeah, he boasts an elite 9.92 relative athletic score with staggering speed numbers for a guy his size, but his hand technique is completely underdeveloped. He is as raw as they come, which honestly is exactly why he was still available sitting there in the 6th round. The depth pieces, guys like Neville Gallimore, James Lynch, and Kentavious Street, they provide warm bodies, sure, but they do not move the needle whatsoever.
Now, in the midst of all this darkness on the defensive line, there is one small, tiny glimmer of hope. Austin Booker. Look at this production on the chart. 4.5 sacks over just 10 games played down the stretch of last season. He developed this lethal, lightning-fast cross-chop move that began consistently beating veteran tackles to the inside. It was a thing of beauty. He genuinely has the potential to become a true, deadly sidekick to Montez Sweat, who, by the way, remains highly underrated by the Bears faithful. Double-digit sacks are absolutely not out of the question for Booker this coming season. But here is the harsh, unforgiving truth of the NFL. Potential is a dangerous, dangerous gamble. Hoping for a young player to suddenly carry the pass rush is not a strategy. It's a prayer. And it's a prayer the Chicago Bears simply cannot afford to rely on if they want to make any real noise in January.
Section 3. The Veteran Edge Solution. So what do they do? The clock is absolutely ticking. July 29th. Mark that on your calendar. That is the date of the team's first full practice at training camp. The front office knows that entering camp with this current defensive line is a total recipe for disaster. And we know for a fact that the front office is fully aware of the danger they're in because they already tried to fix it. Earlier this offseason, Chicago made an aggressive, desperate play at acquiring superstar Max Crosby. Behind closed doors, the rumors swirled that Chicago offered a massive package, allegedly including 2 future first-round draft picks. They swung for the absolute fences guys, but they missed. The fact that they were even heavily involved in those blockbuster trade conversations proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that upgrading the pass rush unit is viewed internally as an absolute must. It is honestly shocking that they are this close to training camp and the gaping hole on the edge still remains unfilled. They are completely out of Grand Slam options, which means they must turn to the veteran free agent market to inject some juice and competition into this roster before July 29th.
So, the front office is now staring down 2 high-profile veteran mercenaries who could potentially save this defensive front. Let's look at the options. On one side, you have Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, he's 33 years old and carries the heavy physical toll of a decade fighting in the trenches, including chronic knee swelling. But his production? It's undeniable. Last season in Dallas, he racked up 41 total tackles and 8.5 sacks. He brings a violent, incredibly heavy hand to the edge. Now on the other side is Joey Bosa. He hasn't had fewer than 5 sacks in a season since 2022, even when playing only 5 games that year. Make no mistake though, a devastating history of soft tissue injuries and hamstring tears means Bosa is no longer the elite, prime, every-down defender he once was. But can the Bears manage a snap count? Can they squeeze the final, desperate drops of greatness out of him purely on third downs? Either of these men would instantly elevate Chicago from a bottom-tier pass rush to a functional, dangerous unit. But a choice has to be made, and fast.
But what if I told you that fixing the defense doesn't actually guarantee anything? Think about it. What if the defense secures Clowney or Bosa, they generate the pressure, they stop the run, and the team still falls short? Because addressing the defense means absolutely nothing if the offense harbors a fatal internal flaw.
Section 4. Caleb's next big step.
The spotlight swings right back to number 18. Caleb Williams is a walking, talking human highlight reel. As we covered, he is ranked as the 10th best quarterback in the league. But to transition from a top 10 talent to true, undeniable elite status, the kind of status that actually hoists Lombardi trophies, there is a specific mental hurdle he has to overcome. Now, nobody doubts his clutch gene. Nobody.
Last season, Caleb Williams led the entire NFL in fourth-quarter comebacks. 6 different times the Chicago Bears were trailing in the final frame, and 6 times Williams put on a cape, tapped into his superhuman abilities, and dragged his franchise from the jaws of defeat to a stunning victory. I mean, just look at Week 12 in Detroit. Down by 10 with 4 minutes left on the clock, he orchestrates a flawless scramble drill, throws an off-balance 40-yard bomb completely across his body, and just breaks the hearts of the Lions. He is absolutely deadly when the game is on the line, but this incredible statistic actually masks a deeply concerning reality. You have to ask yourself, why were the Bears losing in the fourth quarter so often in the first place?
The underlying sickness of this offense is entirely hidden in this single number, 58.1%. That was his completion rate last season. Listen, that is far too low for a championship quarterback. The hard truth is, Williams possesses a terrible habit of poor early game decision-making. When you break down the all-22 film, the mechanics of his mistakes are just glaring. In the first quarter, his footwork gets incredibly choppy. He locks his eyes on the deep post, completely bypassing the easy wide-open drag route underneath. He hunts for the spectacular, high degree of difficulty throw when it simply isn't there. Now, while he does an excellent job of protecting the football and avoiding interceptions, his low completion percentage completely stalls drives early in the game. It forces 3-and-outs, it forces punts, and what does that do? It puts that struggling 31st-ranked defensive line right back out on the field, exhausting them before halftime even hits. His early game mechanical and mental mistakes are the exact reason Chicago falls behind early and is forced to rely on his fourth-quarter miracles.
So how do you fix this? The antidote to this flaw lies in 2 profound words from Bears quarterbacks coach JT Barrett: do less. It sounds crazy, right? You have a quarterback with generational, jaw-dropping talent, and you are explicitly telling him to pull back. But this is the exact piece of advice that could alter the entire trajectory of the Chicago Bears franchise. Williams doesn't need to learn how to be Superman. He already knows how to do that better than almost anyone. He needs to learn how to be Clark Kent.
He must become a master of the mundane. For the 2026 season, the absolute necessity is executing these routine tasks. Step 1, take what the defense is giving you. Step 2, stay true to your progressions. Step 3, hit the open receiver in the flat. We really have to dive into the profound psychology of a quarterback with this much sheer talent. Why is it so incredibly hard for a generational athlete to just throw a boring 4-yard checkdown? It's because when you have an absolute howitzer for an arm and the athletic ability to extend plays for 10 seconds, taking the easy out feels like a failure to them. It is a massive psychological battle of ego versus efficiency. The temptation of the deep ball is like a siren song, but Williams has to learn to fight that instinct. If the defense is playing a deep shell coverage, he cannot immediately bail out of a perfectly clean pocket just to scramble and hunt for a highlight reel throw. He must trust his offensive line. He must shoot the ball to the running back in the flat when that is the most practical play. Hitting a running back for a mundane 4-yard gain does wonders. It keeps the offense on schedule. It turns a 2nd and 10 into a highly manageable 3rd and 6. It keeps the chains moving. It keeps his own defense on the sideline resting. If Caleb Williams can win the psychological battle within his own mind and learn to make the easy, boring throws in the first, second, and third quarters, the Bears won't even need his superhuman heroics in the fourth. They will already be winning.
So here we are. The pieces of the puzzle are laid out on the table. We've got the explosive offense, the terrifying defensive line dilemma, the ticking clock of free agency, and a young superstar quarterback battling his own instincts. Will the front office pull the trigger on a veteran edge rusher to save this defensive front? And will Caleb Williams finally master the mundane, transforming from a spectacular talent into a cold, calculating champion before that July 29th training camp deadline hits? The story of the 2026 Chicago Bears is literally hanging by a single, fragile thread. We want to hear from you. Head down to the comments right now and tell us here at NFL Nexus, who should the Bears sign and can Caleb take that next step? Don't forget to subscribe to the NFL Nexus channel, like this explainer, and definitely become a channel member to support more deep dives just like this one. Until next time, keep your eyes on the gridiron.